it just broke me. And I felt like a failure and I felt like a fraud because
Mm.
just 2 years earlier, I had been the state teacher of the year. And I just felt like I was not a good example. I wasn't measuring up, and that I had just pretty much just made a complete mess of myself and my classroom and my life. I could not go on like this. It was not sustainable.
Today's episode is such a good one. I had the absolute joy of connecting with Erin Sponaugle, a 23-year veteran teacher, former West Virginia Teacher of the Year, art educator, and now author of Teachaholic, the 7-day mindset shift to conquer burnout, build life-changing boundaries, and reignite your love for teaching. Erin and I had a real and raw conversation about something that's hitting way too close to home for so many teachers right now, burnout. And we talked about what's really causing it and what teachers can do to reclaim their creativity, set healthy boundaries, and actually enjoy teaching again. And it was so fun to talk with her. In fact, we had such a great time that she decided to have me on her podcast. So make sure you head over to hers, Next Chapter for Teachers, and check out the conversation that we had over there. It's out this week. But first, settle in for this heartfelt and empowering conversation with Erin. Whether you're feeling the daily teacher drain or you just need a little reminder that you are worth saving, this one is for you. Hey friends, welcome to Enjoy Teaching Again, the podcast for teachers who love the work but need a little spark to bring the joy back. I'm your host, Elizabeth Peterson, classroom teacher, arts integration specialist, and passionate educator of over 25 years. If you're overwhelmed by behaviors, disengaged students, and long, exhausting days, you are not alone. But together, we can turn things around and you can teach with confidence and purpose again. So locate that cold coffee of yours, find your favorite pen, I know you have one, and let's dive in. It's time to get inspired and enjoy teaching again. It's not that you don't have time for professional development, it's that the PD you're asked to take wastes your time. You listen, you take notes, you picture how things will play out in your classroom, but no real improvements are happening. It's not you, it's not that you aren't trying to make a change, it's that you aren't getting inspired by your professional development. If you've lost that spark in your classroom, school-sponsored PD isn't going to help. That's why no matter how many PD days or early releases you participate in, the burnout still creeps in. But when you take the reins and search for teacher-centered PD that inspires you, everything starts to change. You'll see your students in a different light. The content you teach will start to come alive, and you'll feel like a creative teacher again. The workshops inside our vault make this happen, and the vault is open only for the month of December. So go now to theinspiredclassroom.com/PD. Inside, you'll find short, manageable workshops that will inspire you. Plus, each one has downloadable resources and certificates for PD hours. Workshops include things such as student behavior, building relationships, SEL and SEAL, creative teaching strategies, arts integration topics with music and movement, drama and visual art, and creative teacher self-care, because yes, that is a thing and you deserve it. And if you use the code DEC10 at checkout, you'll save an extra 10%. So go grab access now. The vault closes at the end of December. Go to theinspiredclassroom.com/PD. So, hi, Erin. I'm so glad to have you here on the podcast today. How are
Thank
you?
you for having me. I'm well. How are you?
Awesome. I'm doing very well. So, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're doing in education right now.
Well, I've been teaching for 23 years. I've been at
Awesome.
the same school for 21 of those 23 years. I am currently an art teacher. I have taught grades 3, 4, and 5, with fifth grade being the longest. And I, in addition to teaching in the classroom, am also an author. I've written two children's books and also illustrated them. And I recently wrote my first book for teachers, which is Teachaholic, a book about teacher burnout. So
Excellent.
that has been keeping me busy, but I have been enjoying looking at ways to help teachers outside of the classroom
Mhm.
by being able to provide resources and strategies for helping them stay in the classroom and have a teaching career that does not drain them.
Excellent. I think we are following similar paths that way. We definitely want to keep our teachers where they are. So, yeah, let's talk a little bit about something that's really near and dear to both of us, which is teacher burnout. Not just because we've both probably dealt with aspects of it ourselves in our classrooms, but because we've seen it in so many teachers around us. And so, teacher burnout, it isn't just something personal that's affecting a few teachers. It seems to be a little bit more systematic. So I'm curious,
Mhm.
what do you think are some of those overarching systemic issues in the teaching profession that are really driving burnout in teachers?
Well, that's true that sometimes we have personal things that will lead to burnout, but the system is set to not be sustainable over time.
Mm,
The excessive workload, teachers are constantly being given more to do with ever nothing ever being taken away. And along with that increasing workload is the unrealistic expectations that it's going to be done well, and this is going to be the magic beans that fixes the issues that we have in education. So
yeah.
teachers are expected to be able to fix everything with this brand new strategy or program that's going to be the one that works. Or at least that's
Yes,
how it's sold to everybody.
it
And
really
along with
is.
that, the reason for those things is high stakes testing. And I
Hmm.
don't think there is anything that can cause a teacher more stress and lead to more systemic burnout than the pressure that high stakes standardized testing puts on our classrooms.
Yeah,
And
you're right.
along with that become is the not having the resources to be able to meet those needs. That coupled with the other things that might be going on in your school with staff shortages
Mhm.
and the needs of your students, it's just a recipe for teachers to feel inadequate and to lead to burnout.
Yeah, yeah, it's like the classic do more with less and
Yes.
pile things more on top of our plates and get the job done no matter what.
Yeah.
It's become such a tough job. Now, why do you think that teacher burnout does get framed by society really as being something personal that that a teacher just goes through? And sometimes it's even considered like a weakness instead of it being like an indication of a larger problem that's actually going on.
We, whether people want to admit it or not, we hold teachers in very high esteem. Even the people
Mm.
that are quick to judge teachers
Hmm.
or that will say that the teachers are overpaid, they're getting their summers off, they deserve to be held even more accountable than what they already are held accountable. The reason why that we people say those things is because deep down, they do value teachers. They
Mm.
realize that teachers are the driving force that holds our schools together. So
Yeah.
when things don't work out or things are not coming to fruition with whatever we are expecting teachers to do, it's easy to pin it on the teacher, kind of like pin the tail on the donkey,
Yeah.
pin the problem on the teacher. But the thing is that the larger problem is that it requires all of us
Yeah.
to play a role in what's going on to support teachers and students and the issues in public education. It takes all of us. We all have a role as just citizens of this country and
Hmm.
members of society to help the children and to help our schools and our communities do well. But it's always easier to place blame, and it's
Mm.
easier to place blame on the person who is, we think of morally as the one responsible for shaping our children's lives outside of their homes.
Yeah, it's almost like that's part of what maybe even causes teachers to view their own burnout as like personal.
Yeah.
I talk with a lot of teachers who kind of feel that weight on themselves, that it's their own personal
Hmm.
failure, instead of maybe
Hmm.
recognizing that there is a bigger picture here. Do
Yes.
you think there's something to that?
Yes.
Yeah.
There is more there, and it will take everyone, or it's going to take more than just teachers to be able to help our society, help our classrooms, help our
Yeah.
schools, to be what they need to be. But as a teacher and as a woman,
Hmm.
we do kind of get put in that place where we feel that this is our problem, that we are at fault and we are not able to measure up.
Yeah.
Enough never seems like enough.
Hmm. Yeah. So, what are some of the signs that a teacher might experience in her classroom at her school that kind of show that this burnout really isn't personal necessarily? Maybe there's some personal, considerations with every individual, situation, but it's actually a little bit more about that broken system that we may be dealing with. So, are there signs that a teacher can kind of look out for?
Yes, I think when you can remove the school part of your life
Hmm.
from it and ask yourself, who am I as a person? Like, am I happy with myself as a mother, as a spouse, as a friend? When we can look at those things or look for those things in our lives that we are happy with or that we feel fulfilled and feel that we are contributing to. And then you can kind of see that when you subtract the school part, that it is coming from what's expected of us in the classroom and what is expected from us in the system.
Hmm.
And also some of these symptoms of burnout, you know, you can kind of trace them trace them that it's coming from how you feel based on what's going on in the classroom.
Hmm.
So if you feel ineffective or feel like you're not measuring up, is it that you're not feeling that way because of what's expected of you at school or what's expected of you as a teacher? More
Hmm.
so is it what's expected of you as a parent or uh, as a spouse? Sometimes our cynicism and our negativity, is that cynicism and negativity about life in general, or is it about things going on at school or
Hmm.
about your job, uh, your performance? If you feel like you're not doing as well in the classroom, but you have to remind yourself it's what's going on at school. It's not what's going on in your life or in all of your life. We have things about ourselves that are good and that we can use for good, but we have to get past this point where we're letting school and letting the demands of the profession wear us down and not allow us to contribute those things to the rest of our lives.
I love that. So, really being able to take a step back and almost separate things out a little bit and really take that moment to reflect on, is this something that I feel consistently, or is it
Mhm.
something that I feel really just when it comes to school and my classroom and that type of thing? That's actually quite
Yeah.
helpful. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would encourage our listeners to actually even press pause and actually take a moment to really think about that, because that can really be a good eye opener for yourself. Yeah.
It was for me. That was a really low point for me about 9 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I I I completely burnt out. So I've been teaching for 23 years, but I have had some very high points and I've had some very bottom of the
Yeah.
ocean low points as well.
Yeah.
And it really took for me when I was at my lowest point where I was completely burnt out and unhappy with what I felt was every aspect of my life, but which was mostly being contributed by teacher burnout,
Mhm.
really separating myself from the classroom and
Mhm.
what did I like about my life or what did I feel fulfilled in life or want to pursue in my life that wasn't school related, and being able to pinpoint what was going on at school with my responsibilities, how I was putting that on myself to keep
Mhm.
working on things or overextending myself, outside the classroom. I had to make that separation so that there was an Erin outside of school and an Erin at school. There had to be boundaries. And
Yeah.
boundaries are, as women, sometimes something hard for us to do because it goes back to that moral context that, well, I should be giving all of myself all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, but then what we find is that so many teachers, it starts to really impact their emotional and their physical well-being
Yeah.
and on their joy, right, inside the
Yes.
classroom, which
The joy.
is something that, I love to talk about here on this podcast, right, is to be able to bring that joy back. Um, and that teachers feel like their creativity has been stripped from
Yes.
their work. And I'm assuming, but tell me, you're finding that as well in people that you are talking with and teachers that you're working with.
Well, along with the demands of the classroom
Mm-hmm.
increasing and standardized testing, the increasing drive to raise test scores, have students do better, more is being automated and more is being scripted. And
Mm-hmm.
many teachers, one of the reasons why they want to go into teaching is not only to change lives, is because they have a drive and a desire to use their talents and use their ideas and their strengths to make teaching and make learning a fun and enjoyable and creative experience for kids.
Yeah.
And then when someone tells you we're not doing that anymore, here's what you're teaching exactly word for word,
Yeah.
that really takes the air out of your balloon, and that's a hard thing to get back when it comes to joy, is when you feel that your creativity and your autonomy has
Mm-hmm.
been taken away.
Yes.
And as teachers, as a teacher myself, I'm now an art teacher for students in grades 3 through 5. That was big for me in reclaiming my joy and my desire to be in the classroom, was getting into art education and being able to have that, or have more of that autonomy, so that I could be creative and meet my students' needs and put my own personal context in it.
Mm.
Whereas a book in a very scripted, strict curriculum will not be able to allow that.
Yeah, that's good. And how wonderful that you've been able to kind of switch gears a little bit and be able to provide that for yourself. So that's great. So let's talk about your book because it
Oh,
just
sure,
came out. It's
it did.
Teachaholic,
It
and it
is.
discusses, yes, in length about reclaiming control where teachers
Yes.
actually can. What part of burnout do you think that is actually within our control as teachers?
Well, I think it's important to recognize what is not in our control,
Mm,
because there are things that it's true. We have no control over. You can walk into your school for the new year and something can be completely flipped on its head.
mm-hmm,
We can't control the demands. We can't control the expectations or the increasing workload. We cannot control the students we're going to get.
that's
You
true.
you teach the kids you have, not the kids you want.
Yep.
And we can't always control our colleagues either. It's an ecosystem, a school. But we
Mm-hmm,
what we can control is our response. We
mm-hmm,
can control how we respond to those demands, the workload, our classroom, especially this time of year when the holidays are in full force. We just got through Halloween, we've got
yep.
Thanksgiving and the December holidays loading.
Yep.
Um, we can control how we view our role and our expectations. So something that I talk about in Teachaholic are the think traps that set us up
Mm-hmm,
for burnout. And taking that was a big part for me, just really taking a hard look at myself, at the martyr mentality and those
mm,
things that we kind of, those boxes we put ourselves in that really limit us and um, affect our mindset. We can also control, and we may not say, oh, I can't do that, I got to get this done, it's got to be like this, but we can control when our teaching and our responsibilities stop and our personal lives begin, and when they take
mm-hmm,
precedence. And it's not easy to leave stuff at school. It means you got to change how you do things
mm-hmm.
and change what you prioritize, but we can control where teaching stops and where the rest of our life is going to begin for the evening.
Yes.
And that is a big move in setting boundaries and saving yourself from burnout. And along with that, we control what we prioritize.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just school stuff. We need to be on that list. As teachers,
Yeah.
we need to prioritize our own needs personally
Mm-hmm.
and professionally. But we have nothing without our health, not just our physical health, but our emotional and mental health.
Mm-hmm.
And you cannot be all you are meant to be to anyone without prioritizing yourself and your own needs.
So true. So true. And I love that you brought up boundaries. We really need to, everyone needs to really consider what's really important. And like you said, their priorities. Was there a turning point in your teacher journey where you realized you had to take your power back, get that control back as a teacher and figure out what that might look like for you?
Yes, about 9 years ago, 2016, a couple of days before spring break, I was at my breaking point.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't even really the students that I
Yeah.
had that year. This was back when I was still teaching fifth grade. It was just everything. It was all the things that I had expected of myself for years and everything that I had done and had put on myself and the lack of boundaries that I had never established.
Right?
It all came to a head. And I remember I was on the couch after coming home from teaching, completely wiped, feeling defeated,
Mm-hmm.
knowing that I hadn't been my best self, and knowing that the kids in my room were probably, you know, the reason why they probably didn't, we had the day we did was because I was not 100%. So they weren't 100%. So what do I do to make things better? I get on Instagram. It's like, because
Oh,
the
that'll
social
solve
media
it.
will make everything better. And that's actually an entire chapter in the book about our mindset with social media, because what we see online and what
Mm,
we what we our diet on social media does impact our view of what we should be doing. Everything looks very filtered and pretty and clean on
yeah.
Instagram or Facebook, but that's not reality. And even if you're not on social media, like you've probably been on Pinterest or YouTube, those aren't always any better. But anyway,
Mm-hmm.
I got on Instagram and I just happened to be on there, and there was a teacher that had posted a quote about, if you're not able to give your best self, don't expect your students to give you theirs. And it just, to anybody else, they might have kept on scrolling, but to me in that moment, it just broke me. And I felt like a failure and I felt like a fraud, because
Mm,
just 2 years earlier, I had been the state teacher of the year. And I just felt like I was not a good example. I wasn't measuring up, and that I had just pretty much just made a complete mess of myself and my classroom and my life.
mm,
And was that true? No, I was just in a very poor state of mind and I was in burnout. But just being at ground zero there, there was no going back. I think I might have just muddled through the last 2 days before break.
mm-hmm.
But over that spring break, I had to have a come to Jesus moment with myself about
Yeah.
what was my life going to look like.
Mm-hmm.
I could not go on like this. It was not sustainable, my outlook. And that's when I just really started to make changes and think about my thinking and what would make me happy, what
Yeah.
would make me feel like a good teacher again. And a lot of it came down to, well, what do you really want for yourselves? Like, I don't want to take all my stuff home every night. Oh, that makes me so tired. And I was resentful with that. It's like, well, what happens if I stop doing that? Well, I started doing that. It's like, well, what would happen if I stopped doing that? And I did have to change things, and I had
Yeah.
to prioritize differently at school, and reevaluate what I was going to value as far as what needed to get done, prioritizing tasks. But it made a difference.
Mm,
And then, eventually, it was also kind of like I'd broken it. I really needed to change from teaching fifth grade from 15 years. Like, well, what about if you taught a different subject area? And so I looked
mm-hmm.
at middle school, and I thought, what, I love to teach art. What about if I taught art? So I got certified to teach art. And when an art position came open, I took it. And that was good. So sometimes we just need a change in our environment,
Yeah.
and it can cause us to reignite our love for the classroom.
Mm-hmm.
So it was not pretty, and it was not Instagrammable, let's put it that way. But it was a slow crawl out of a deep hole, or maybe we could crawl. I guess you would crawl out of a. Could you crawl out of a hole? You'd climb out of a hole. You
Climb
would
out.
climb out of the hole. You'd crawl out of the
Yeah.
tunnel. But once I saw the light and got out,
Uh-huh.
I thought, other people need to be pulled. I need to pull some other people back out of there with me, because
Yeah.
we cannot. this is what we have currently going on in education is not sustainable.
Mm.
It's obvious in our teacher attrition rates.
Hmm.
We teachers need help. We
Yep.
need something different. And sometimes that different is going to have to come from the teacher. It may not come from the system, may not come from the people above. It's going to take us saying this is not the way it needs to be.
Yes. Amen to that. Yeah. So, okay. So let's dream a little here for a moment. If you could
Yes. Let's dream.
redesign the education system from the ground up to prevent burnout and have teachers find more joy and success, how would you go about it? What would you do first?
Gosh. Give me the keys to the kingdom. I've
Yeah,
got some things to
let's
do.
do it.
Uh, well, the first thing, and these are all very interrelated, I think, is our emphasis on standardized testing,
Uh-huh.
because that has really broken a lot of teachers, and
Mm,
the scriptedness and progress monitoring that goes along with that. It takes up a lot of time that teachers would love to spend teaching and interacting with their classrooms and their students,
hmm.
but they can't because they are tied up in that. So I guess the bigger thing there is teacher autonomy. I would give the
Mm,
teachers back their control. And
yes.
along with that control is accountability and the expectation that you're going to do your best and meet student needs. But we treat kind of teachers like they're the we treat all our teachers like the worst teacher, and that's really unfortunate. With the amount of control and the amount of um, the lack of freedom that we give
Hmm.
with curriculum. But I would like to see the mindset be treat people like they're good and let them prove you otherwise. Because there are a lot of good teachers out there that want to do good things, but they can't because they have these expectations with testing, progress monitoring, scripted curriculum, and they're not able to be all that they could potentially be to their students. So that's
Yeah.
more than one thing, but if I could pick two more,
Go for it,
I would
girl.
work to I would work to protect teacher time, because
Hmm.
teachers get their time taken away a lot for their planning periods or their lunch periods, or other times are taken away from them so that they are tied up with meetings and other things that are not giving them the time to get things done at school, so they don't have to take it home or feel that they must take it home in
Hmm.
order to meet the needs of their job. So I also want to see teachers have their time protected so that they can get things done with the allotted time that they're given
Hmm.
to work on those tasks without having to have it bleed into their personal life.
Hmm.
One way that we have to address that and address the teacher autonomy issue as well is eliminating redundancy. We never take anything away from teachers. They just keep getting more and more. And so many of the things that were expected of teachers, that are expected of teachers, they're almost repetitive. It's like we need to
Mm.
condense some of this and be more concise. And you can still meet student needs and document and record and show you that you're meeting standards, but we got to eliminate something. So
Yeah.
that's the that's the that's where I'd start.
I like those three steps.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Yep. And I wholeheartedly agree with all of those steps. Erin, you are so on the right track. All right.
Thank you. Thank you.
Excellent. Yeah. So as we're wrapping up, I'm curious if there's something you could leave every teacher who's listening, maybe with a thought about burnout, that could really change how they see themselves and their work. What kind of thing would you want to say to the teachers that are listening?
Well, I'll give you some quotes from the book, or some things that I mention in the book, or
Okay.
that I make a point of saying in the book, because they do matter, and uh, teachers do matter, and they are important, regardless of what is said on social media or in a Facebook post or
Hmm.
in an angry parent phone call. If teachers are going to be the deciding factor for student success and achievement, and it seems like we've really pinned it on them that they are
Hmm.
within the system, we've got to consider their needs as human beings.
Mm.
And sometimes that starts with the teacher considering their needs as human beings. We are human beings. We're not human doings.
Hmm.
We have needs just like everyone else, and that needs to be put front and center just as much as anybody else's. And we do have obligations, we do have accountability, but we also have an obligation to ourselves to create a life that we want to wake up to every morning,
Mm.
to fulfill what we're meant to fulfill on this earth. And sometimes that means you have to take a look at yourself and what you want to do and put into this world and how you want to do it. And this is my favorite quote from the book. Nothing gets better until you are ready to save yourself, and you are worth saving.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for that, Erin. Hey,
Thank
listen,
you.
tell us where we can connect with you, learn more about you, get our hands on your book, Teachaholic.
Sure. You can follow me on social media at Next Chapter for Teachers on Instagram.
Excellent.
And you can go to my website, erinsponaugle.com, and you can learn more about Teachaholic and some of my other resources for teachers. The book is on Amazon, on Kindle, and paperback. And it's ready and waiting for you to dive into. You can also, if you go to my website, if you go to erinsponaugle.com/book, I have a Teachaholic action guide for free that you can download if you want to see what the book is about. It's meant to go along with the book. It has reflection questions and resources that you can use as you read the book to help you make changes in your teacher burnout journey.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much for all those amazing resources that you have for teachers. And thanks for coming on the podcast today, Erin. It was so good to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I hope this conversation with Erin gave you the reminder that you didn't know you needed today. You're not broken. The system is. And you're encouraged to put yourself first and take those steps to protect your energy, to protect your creativity, and to protect your purpose. I'm so grateful that Erin joined me today to talk honestly about burnout, about boundaries, and why we need to stop blaming ourselves for a broken system. And if you found yourself nodding along, feeling seen, maybe even a little emotional, I want you to know that you don't have to stay stuck in survival mode. Right now, I've got something super special open just for this month that I know will inspire you to take the next step. It's my vault of teacher-centered workshops. And for the first time ever, I've opened it up to teachers just for the month of December. These are manageable, on-demand workshops designed with you in mind. No fluff, no busy work, just real support for what you're actually facing in the classroom, like student behavior, social emotional learning, creativity, relationship building, and yes, burnout as well. You can watch them anytime, anywhere, and of course, you'll get PD certificates and downloadable resources that you can use the very next day. And just for being part of my podcast community, you can also use the code DEC10 to save an extra 10% at the checkout. So if you're ready to feel inspired by your PD for once and not drained by it, head over to theinspiredclassroom.com/PD and take a peek inside the vault. But make sure you hurry because the doors are going to close at the end of December. And then they're locked up tight, and I'm not sure when I'm going to be opening them back up again. So let this month be the month that you choose you and get back to enjoying your teaching again. I'll see you next time. I hope this episode inspired you, encouraged you, or gave you a fresh idea to try. And if so, I would love for you to take a screenshot and text it to one of your teaching buddies. I'm so grateful that you landed here with me today, and it would mean the world to me if you would leave me a review over on Apple Podcast. Thanks so much for being here, and I'll catch you on the next episode. This is Elizabeth Peterson reminding you to get inspired so you can be inspiring to your students and enjoy teaching again.